All right, let's get into it. Today, we are going to tackle one of the most common and, let's be honest, one of the most intimidating academic assignments out there, the literature review. We're going to break it down step by step so you can walk into your next one feeling like you've actually got this. I mean, does that phrase, literature review, just fill you with this special kind of dread? Yeah? If it does, you're so not alone. It can feel like this huge, vague mountain you have to climb. But here's the good news. It's a skill. And like any other skill, you can absolutely learn how to do it well. So what even is it? At its heart, a literature review, or a lit review, is really just an overview of what the experts, the scholars, have already said about a topic. Think of yourself as a tour guide, showing your reader the most important sights and sounds of the research that already exists. Okay, but why bother? What's the point? Well, a lit review is absolutely crucial. For starters, it gives context and proves you've done your homework. But more than that, it lets you see where different researchers agree or disagree. And ultimately, it's how you figure out where your voice fits into this big, ongoing academic conversation. First things first, a really great literature review starts way before you type a single word. This is all about strategy. You've got to lay the groundwork before you start building the house. So here are 4 key steps to get you going. First, you've got to set your scope. You can't review everything, so what are your boundaries? Second, and this is so important, come up with a narrow research question. Seriously, a focused question is your best friend. It's what keeps you from drowning in information. Then, you hit the academic databases and start searching. And while you're at it, keep an eye out for the foundational work, the articles that everyone seems to be citing. Okay, so you've got a pile of articles. Now it's time to read. But this isn't like reading a novel on the beach. You need to put on your detective hat. This is active, analytical work. You're looking for clues. As you're reading, you're hunting for things. You're looking for patterns and themes that pop up over and over again. You're judging the strengths and weaknesses of different arguments. But here's the secret. The most important thing you're looking for is what isn't there. What questions aren't being asked. These are what we call gaps in the literature. And finding one of those gaps, that's not a bad thing. That's a huge opportunity. A gap is an invitation. It's the perfect little space where your own original ideas can step in and add something totally new to the conversation. It's where you come in. Right, so now you understand the landscape of the research, you need a plan to explain it to someone else. You're not just making a list of books and articles. You're telling a story about the research, and every good story needs a solid structure. You've got a few main options for your blueprint. You could go chronologically, right, to show how an idea changed over time. Or you could go thematic, which is really popular, grouping sources together by the ideas they share. You could even organize it by methodology, comparing how different ways of researching led to different conclusions. The structure you pick really shapes the story you end up telling. And that brings us to maybe the most important skill of all in this process, synthesis. This is the magic moment. It's where you stop being a simple reporter, just summarizing what other people said, and you become a creator, building something new out of their ideas. This little example shows the difference perfectly. A summary is just a list. This person said this, and this other person said that. See how it's just one after the other? But synthesis is different. It combines their ideas to make a new, stronger point. You're not just listing them, you're putting them into a conversation with each other. I like to think of it like a recipe. The ideas from all your sources, those are your ingredients. Your brain, your analysis, that's the technique. Your chopping, mixing, and cooking. And the final paragraph, that's the brand new dish you just made. You're not just serving up raw ingredients, you're making a fantastic sauce. And here's a super simple pro tip you can use while you're writing. Just look at any paragraph in your paper. If that paragraph is only talking about one source, chances are you're summarizing, not synthesizing. The goal is to get multiple voices, multiple sources into that same paragraph, all talking to each other. So when you put the whole paper together, it looks something like this. Your introduction is your hook. It grabs the reader and tells them exactly what your review is going to cover. The body paragraphs, that's the main event. That's where all that synthesis we just talked about happens. And then the conclusion wraps it all up. But a really strong conclusion does more than just say, that's all, folks. It should definitely summarize the big themes you found, sure. But then it needs to point directly to those gaps in the research that you discovered. And then, and this part's key, it should suggest where future researchers could go next. It points the way forward. So after all that work, the planning, the detective work, the structuring, the synthesis, what's the big takeaway here?
A literature review isn't just another assignment you have to check off a list. Think of it as your ticket in. It's how you learn the language of your field, how you understand the history, and how you find the exact spot where your own voice can add something new and meaningful. So, what conversation are you going to join?